A man in South Africa, he made his parents cry. He told them he was going into the life insurance business. Does that sound familiar to you? Fortunately, Jerry became a quick success in the business and helped curb his parents' fears. Jerry came to the U.S. in the late 1970s and started his second career in life insurance. Second career. He brought no clients with him, only his natural skills and experience. Once again, Jerry was able to make a success of himself. This includes 17 years of membership in the Round Table. He's a charter member of Top of the Table with 5 years of Top of the Table qualification. He has presented, developed, and implemented charitable estate plans for several organizations throughout the United States and is also the author of 2 novels. Here to tell us how to say it with conviction, please welcome Jerry Sachs.
Thank you. How many times have you been to a wonderful meeting and got a great sales idea or a closing idea and then returned home and nothing? Well, ideas don't work unless you do. I hope during this brief time that we have together, we will be able to share a couple of ideas that you can take with you and use on a daily basis to help you further your success in your careers. Let me give you an example. I went on a call to see a prospect. When I arrived, he said to me, "I must tell you, I have a good attorney, I have a good CPA, everything is fine. We have put my estate together quite nicely, so I don't think there is anything that you can do for me. In fact, I have completed all my estate planning." Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever had someone say to you, "I have done all my estate planning," or "I don't think there is anything you can do for me"? How do you answer that question? How do you overcome that objective? Here's what I said to him. "I'm really pleased that you've done all your estate planning. But before I leave, I'd like to ask you just one question." Here's the question I asked. What have you done to protect your assets from the divorce, bankruptcy, and creditors of your children? I stood there in silence for a few seconds, waiting for his reaction. He said to me, "You know, nobody's ever asked me that kind of question before. So here it is again. What have you done to protect your assets from the divorce, bankruptcy, and creditors of your children?" You all remember the late, great Ben Feldman, the legend of our industry, the giant that we had. He used to say, "Ask disturbing questions." And he was right. It's not just the question, it's how you ask it that counts. But say it with conviction. To a prospect on another occasion, I said, if you had visited a doctor this morning and the doctor said to you, "You need to have surgery," you may want to consider a second opinion before this procedure. And most people do. "Well," I said to him, "why don't you let me give you a second opinion on your estate plan as well?" How about some of these expressions? We're all trying to be successful. But you know, the road to success is always under construction. Success comes in cans. It doesn't come in carts. The future is purchased by the present, and perhaps that is the legacy of our business. Sometimes I ask a prospect this question: do you remember your parents? Obviously they do. Do you remember your grandparents? Well, how about your great-grandparents? Do you remember who they were? And normally people say no. And I say to them, if you were receiving a check every month from your great-grandparents' trust, you'd know who they were. You can do that too for your grandchildren with a life insurance policy, Mr. Prospect. Specifically for businessmen and women, I like to ask these questions. How much of what you own in your business belongs to Uncle Sam? Do you know? A better question yet. After you are gone, Mr. Businessman, will your children still speak to each other, or they're going to fight over the assets? In other words, how do you transfer your business to your children and make it fair? What about client integrity, client honorability? I said to a client one day, I have a client who is in the same kind of business as you. What I would like you to do, sir, is allow me to bring him here to your office and let him follow you around for 30 days so that you can learn your business. Then he may be able to open up on the next block in competition with you. That wouldn't be fair, would it? So don't expect me to teach another insurance agent my business. That's just not fair. You see, diplomacy is the art of letting someone else get your way. I went on a call to referral of a client of mine, and this man turned out to be a minister. He had 7 children. I said to him, goodness gracious me, sir, you definitely need some estate planning. In fact, you definitely need some insurance. He looked me straight in the eye and said, no, I don't, raising his hand pointing to the heaven. The good Lord will provide, he said to me. I sat back for a few seconds and thought about it. And then I leaned forward and said to him, who do you think sent me? I was talking to a businessman about buying life insurance and said this to him: why don't we take the insurance and put it into a trust for your only son? He said to me he did not want his son to receive the lump sum death benefit. He was worried. What if his son received the lump sum of death benefit? He may even become an unproductive member of our society. So I said to him, why don't we take the policy and put it in the trust and arrange for the trust to pay your son an income for the rest of his life, rather than give him the lump sum. His response was, even if we take 5% interest on the lump sum, it is just too much money. He may still be a loser. So I said to him, well, let me ask you a very personal question. Here is the question I asked. How would you like the opportunity to rule from the grave? He smiled. I said to him, here's what we can do. We can arrange for this trust to pay your son an annual amount of money equal to his salary. If he doesn't work, he doesn't get paid. And at age 45, we can give him an increase. And at age 55, we can give him another. And by age 65, if he hasn't learned, well, who cares? I was talking to a businessman who was married for the second time. I said to him, sir, there are 2 cardinal sins you cannot commit. Here's one of them. Never ever ask your second wife to go to your children of your first marriage for her money. That's a no-no. Here's the other. Never ever ask the children of your first marriage to go to your second wife for their money. That's called, I'll see you in court. Let's create a spousal income trust for your second wife, funded with life insurance. She gets the income for the rest of her life, and the principal reverts back to your children of your first marriage at her death, income tax free. What a lovely idea. I've come across some of these wonderful expressions, and I hope that you can use them too. One who lacks courage to start has already finished. How about this one? Triumph is just the oomph added to try. Thank you. I often tell people today, especially those young agents in our business, if you want your dreams to come true, you better not oversleep. Several years ago, I had the privilege of addressing a retirement community. There were probably 30 couples in the room, and sitting right in front of me in the front row was this lady and this gentleman. He looked so healthy, wonderfully suntanned. He was sitting there with his wife, and she was right next to him, so proud. I turned to him and said, "Sir, what I would like to do is ask you, what do you do?" And he got up and he made a swing like a golf swing, and he said, "I play golf 5 days a week." And she, pointing to his wife, "Mom, she plays tennis." Here was this wonderful couple enjoying the fruits of their lifelong labor. "Sir, please don't be upset with me," I said to him, "but I would like to use you as an example in this following story. I am going to create a tragedy." I said to him, "If tomorrow morning you had a stroke, who's going to wash you, wipe you, feed you, clean you? Mom? No. So what are your choices? An old age home? A nursing home? A healthcare facility? We could bundle you up in a car and take you over to your children's house and say, 'Here's Dad.'" He put his hand on his forehead and said, "Oh no, not my children." I said to him, "Why don't we let us put your assets in a trust and let the trust pay you and Mom an income for the rest of your lives so that you can live it with dignity without worrying about spending your children's inheritance?" What a lovely story to be able to explain to someone who is considering the creation of a dynasty trust, using life insurance or an annuity to accomplish that. Here are some closing questions I use in the sales interview. Sometimes handing the client a pen, I say, "If you could wave a magic wand, what would you do?" Another one that I use all the time, and every time I use it, do you know what is the most difficult part? The most difficult part is learning to be quiet after you've asked the question. It's so difficult. Sometimes I have to force myself. I have to bite my tongue. After you've asked the closing questions, be quiet. Give your client the chance to speak. Here's the question. Mr. Prospect, you have the privilege, you have the power, you have the ability to do it now. Finally, I have used this close with great success. I call it my diamond close, one I've used over and over and over again. I hope that it will help you too. After you have finished your presentations, after you have done everything you can, this is the final question I ask. Mr. Prospect, Mr. Client, if you don't do this, what will you do? Force yourself to be quiet and listen. I hope that you can take these ideas in this brief moment we've shared together with you and use them in your daily lives, and that they will help you in your future success. Remember, it is not what you say, it is how you say it. But say it with conviction. Thank you very much.